debates and that's going on, that's actually very involved in the elections that's going on, is the question of whether the religious yeshiva student should serve in the army. And I want to tell you two experiences I had in Israel. One was, one day in Yerushalayim, I needed a place to daven mincha, and I went into a shul and they already daven mincha. So I said, where can I daven mincha? So they said, there's a shul on Chafetz Chaim Street in Jerusalem, just a few blocks away. It's called the Mincha Factory. Mincha Factory, non-stop minions. So I went there, that was a very religious community. Corner, even on the street there was a minyan for mincha because there was so many minions going on. Later that night I was having dinner with another Hasidic Jew. I told him I daven mincha in the shul. It was amazing, so many minions. He says, I don't walk into that shul. I said, why? A Israeli Haredi boy, or Hasidic boy, went and joined the IDF. And he came home one day with his uniform and he went into the shul to daven mincha. He's a religious boy. When the other people there, some people saw him there, they started screaming at him, get out of here, you joined the army. They chased him out. So this religious Jew said, if that soldier's not welcome there, I'm not welcome there either. I won't daven there. That was one negative experience I had. Positive experience I had was when I went to Hebron, to the cave of the patriarchs and the matriarchs. Hebron's a city that's very heavily guarded with IDF soldiers. So there's one pizza shop in Hebron. We went there to eat lunch. When I went to the cash register to order and pay, the religious Jew behind the counter with a beard said, would you like to buy a voucher for the soldiers? I said, what's that? He said, for 65 shekel, which is like, $15 or so, you could buy a voucher and it gets you a pie of pizza and a drink, a big bottle of soda. I said, what do I do with it? He says, you go over to any soldier in Hebron, you say, thank you for protecting us, and you give him the voucher and they could go eat pizza with their friends. I said, of course. Sure enough, I went over to a soldiers, I saw a few soldiers, I said, thank you so much for protecting us. I gave them the voucher, they smiled, they were so happy. And the point is that we have such a debt of gratitude to these soldiers. Imagine, if someone does you a favor, you say thank you, even if it's a small favor. Imagine if someone says, I'll risk my life to protect you and your family. You owe them the greatest debt of gratitude. And the least you could do is say thank you. Every time you see a soldier, you have to thank them, because if not for them, you definitely could not live in Israel. You definitely could not visit Israel. You wouldn't go to Israel for a minute if there were no soldiers protecting you. So you're only there because of them, and they're protecting your lives. This week's parsha, we find when the Jewish people are going to the land of Israel, Moshe Rabbeinu says, we're going to conquer the land, and two tribes say, we want to live on the east bank of the Jordan. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, they're going to fight to protect the land of Israel, to conquer it, and you're going to sit behind and not join the battle? And what does he say? You're going to weaken the morale of the rest of the soldiers. If you sit back and don't join the fight, how are they going to feel? And what we learn from this is that we have a responsibility, not just to the IDF soldiers, to strengthen their morale. They were the IDF soldiers in the Torah, the ones who fought the first time in Israel. So surely we have to strengthen the morale. But it teaches us, our rabbis say, to always strengthen people's morale, no matter what. And there's a verse from this week's parsha that is applied in Jewish law. It says, Moshe says to Jewish people, will your brothers go to battle and you won't join them? And rather, you must go join them in battle. And ultimately, they agreed to conquer the land with the Jewish people and then settle back on the East Bank. And he says to them, then you will be clean in the eyes of God and the eyes of mankind. And here's a Jewish principle in Jewish law. Everything we do has to make sure that we're clean, not just in God's eyes, but in the eyes of our fellow man. Sometimes we do things that we say, well, I know I'm doing the right thing. God knows. God's my witness. And no, other people observe you. Perception matters. You have to make sure you're having a positive influence. And Jewish law has many examples. For example, if you're serving chicken tonight for dinner in your home, and you want to have coffee and cream, non-dairy cream, you shouldn't bring the cream out in a glass jar, because someone may think he served milk with his chicken or with his meat. Bring it out in the container that everyone can see it's parv, it's not meat. Why? Even though you know it's non-dairy, but someone may think you're doing the wrong thing, and we are all influenced, good or bad, by other people around us. So what we do has to influence others in a positive way, never in a negative way. We have to boost people's morale, never weaken it. Quick story, they tell a story about a Jew from Texas, non-religious Jew. He went to Israel, and he had a wonderful experience. When he went to the Kotel, he saw with great fervor. And he was so inspired the way this Jew was so connected to God. So when he came back to Texas, he went to his rabbi He said, I want to help build a yeshiva to educate Jewish kids with that kind of passion and devotion and connection to God. And he built this big Jewish school, a yeshiva. So they tell the story that this Hasidic Jew, after he died, he came to heaven and they were telling him all the good deeds he did and the reward he's going to get. They said, we want to give you a big reward for building a yeshiva in Texas. And this Hasidic Jew from Mea Sharim in Jerusalem says, what's Texas? I've never been to Texas. I never built a yeshiva in Texas. So they played the movie, they played the film, and they showed him how this Jew, a secular Jew, was watching him in awe, the way he was praying with such fervor at the Western Wall. He had his back towards him. He didn't even see the guy observing him. He says, you inspired that Jew to go back and build a yeshiva in Texas. That's to your credit. Sometimes we have our backs turned, we don't realize who's watching us. But we're always influencing other people. Make sure we're a source of power and strength to other people, never damper or weakening to their vigor and their morale. We have to be morale boosters.